So next, we have a very exciting group of folks coming up here to present their Excellence in Environmental Health submittals that they provided, and it's really, I know there's some years we've had a few, and we actually had Sacramento submit 3. So congratulations already to everybody who put in the work and got the submission in, so thank you. With that, we'll start out with Kern. Oh, and one more thing, everybody has 9 minutes, and Tim has graciously decided to help with the timekeeping, so he'll flag you down or throw something, or I'm just kidding. So 9 minutes so we can make sure everybody gets an opportunity to present. So we have Jeffrey Marshall on the implementation of the tobacco retailer program. And then after that, we're going to have Janina Monasterio present the 3 submittals for Sacramento County on their epidemiology team, collaboration, education, and GIS at work, and using GIS to project development and allocate resources. Then we will have Adela Evans up here for San Bernardino County and the street vending solutions through technology. Then we will have San Diego County and Joanne Lee talking about droplet digital polymerase chain reaction. And then finally, we will have Jen Talawert and Jonathan Payegas, sorry if I chopped up your name, try hard, presenting citywide health risk assessment, technical support documentation. So with that, Jeffrey.
So before I get started, I'd like to thank CCDEH for the opportunity to present on a program I feel has made a difference in the city that I grew up in. I'd also like to thank our consumer protection program. Even though they're not here today, without them, I don't think that the implementation of this program wouldn't have been as effective and efficient. So today I'd like to introduce you to the Kern County Tobacco Retailers Program and how we implemented it in the city of Bakersfield. So the program was adopted actually in 2006 in the unincorporated areas of Kern County, mainly for concerns with sales to minors. This program gives us the authority to permit and inspect tobacco retailers who sell tobacco products, tobacco, smoking, and electronic smoking devices. As part of this program, we also have a decoy program. So we hire staff between the ages of 18 and 20, and they'll go out and actually try to buy tobacco from permitted facilities. We have a progressive enforcement process, so we can actually suspend a facility up to 180 days selling tobacco, and we can also issue penalties between $250 up to $1,000. As you all know, we have operators that don't like being caught, and when they do, we offer an appeal process. So in that process, they can come in, they can provide us with evidence appealing the enforcement order that we issue. So that appeal process includes an administrative review board, which is myself, our assistant public health director, and also a division chief with environmental health. If a operator comes in and they provide us with information that shows that they want to improve, that they want to integrate certain approaches to stop the sale of tobacco to minors, then we can offer them the option to be involved in our interactive corrective action program. So we've seen certain facilities implement things such as the integration of a SOP, or POS, which is a point of sale system, so they can actually scan IDs. They'll train their staff extensively. We've even seen them hire mystery shoppers to come in and test their staff. And then if they decide to be involved in that program, then our decoy will actually go out within a 6-month time span, and they'll actually investigate the site and verify that all the procedures they've implemented are working. All right, so how did we implement the tobacco retailers program in the city of Bakersfield, which the city of Bakersfield is the largest city in Kern County. July 12th, 2023, the city decided, hey, we want to adopt this program in our ordinance. When that happened, it was then our duty to be able to go out and contact facilities that sold tobacco products. The city wanted to do this because of concerns with increased sales to minors. Our department also provided them with information showing evidence that there was a decrease in sales to minors through our program. So what did the process entail to permit them? We had to identify facilities in the city. We had to figure out a way to notify them. And then we also had to be able to educate them on the process to obtain this permit. To find these facilities, we actually reached out to the Cigarette Department of Tax and Fee Administration, so CDTFA. They're the state agency that will actually license manufacturers, facilities that sell tobacco, and they provide us with a list of over 380 facilities. So, July 25th, 2023, we sent out a notice to these facilities, informing them of this change in their ordinance, the need for them to obtain a permit through our department. We also offered a informational meeting. We offered multiple informational meetings, evenings, in the mornings. We wanted to be able to provide them information on how to obtain this permit, also with the laws that will be impacting them. So as part of the application process, a facility also has to go through a tobacco education class. So this is a class that my staff offers. Similar to the information meeting, we offered numerous options, times for them to come in, and we provided them with information. On a side note with that one, we answered a lot of questions as well, and some of the questions involved things like the laws that impact them, what kind of documents that they need to submit. There's a list of documents they need to submit as part of the application process, and also the deadline for them to obtain a permit. So we sent out a second notice. So on September 7th, we sent out another notice, again asking them to be part of these meetings, to come in and do the training. In order to reach out to them, we actually used what we call Gov Delivery. It's a mass email system. We did that in order to save on cost and also time spent by staff. So finally, unfortunately, we hit October 4th. The deadline was October 3rd. We sent out a cease and desist order to numerous facilities, informing them that they had to cease and desist all sales of tobacco products. And we actually went out and we hand delivered these notices. So real quick on the side, that photo shows all of the tobacco products that our decoy purchased. So we'll get into the numbers on that. So as of early 2024, we permitted 375 new facilities in the city of Bakersfield. We were able to conduct initial inspections within 6 months of all those facilities by hiring a staff member that conducted inspections, but also oversaw our decoy program. So, since July 2024, we actually have issued 57 first-time violations and 15 second-time violations to facilities that have sold to minors.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
Okay. Out of those facilities, 3 of them did participate in our interactive corrective action program. And so out of the 375 facilities, 15.2% of those facilities did sell to minors, and 4% sold to minors a second time. So with that being said, thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank CCDEH, my staff, and I hope the one thing you get from my presentation is that no matter what it takes, do it for the kids. Thank you very much.
afternoon, everyone. I'm super excited to be here today. I have my timer set up, so I'm going to stay within my 9 minutes per presentation. I do have 3 to go through today. Staff at Sacramento County have been super busy doing and coming up with innovative ideas, and they really wanted to be able to share this today. So that was something that they said, we've got 3 great projects, we want to send you off to CCDEH and share with the group. So I'm going to go through them and definitely stay on time. So the first, basically I have 3 projects here today, and I wanted to tie them together because they do have a common thread. They all are dealing with utilizing in mapping and environmental health, utilizing GIS. So I'm going to be talking today about projecting workload development and allocating resources. The next project is epidemiological response EPI team, and then the third project is sidewalk vending, collaboration, education, and GIS at work. It's a little bit out of order than what's on your sheet, but you'll see and you'll be able to get the right one. So before I get started, just real quick, GIS, what is it? It stands for Graphical Information Systems. It's a computer software that analyzes and connects data to a map. And this is a really beneficial and useful tool for environmental health agencies because it really allows us to tell a better story. It allows us to take data, raw data, put it in a picture format, and tell something more than what we could tell if we were just looking at a sheet full of numbers. So utilizing GIS provides a much clearer picture, a better picture for what we want to say. And how that helps environmental health is that when we look in this geographic lens, we really can do a lot with it. We can improve programs, we can increase regulatory compliance, we can identify and work with environmental justice efforts in communities, we can plan for emergencies, and that's just a few things that we can do with it. So for the first project, this is using GIS to project development and allocate resources. And what this is looking at food facility applications over 2 fiscal years and putting it into a GIS format to see what that looks like, and we can ask some questions and answer some questions. So for the 2 fiscal years that we're looking at, we wanted to know 4 things. Where's development occurring in the county? What will be the impact on the workload? What's the expected revenue? And where are the staffing needs? So dumping this data into GIS map, came up with this map that shows the entire county separated out by census tracts. And we said, okay, of that data, those 2 years worth of construction plan check data, this is the areas that are going to be impacted the most coming up. So in the next 9 months, next year. So those highlighted areas show where those plan reviews are occurring. This is the location. So this is telling us what's happening in the county and what kind of development is occurring and where it's occurring. And that's a big thing because then we can see how that's going to impact our staff and our workload. So based on that information, it helps us project 400 additional inspections per year projected with 4 districts, 4 main districts that are going to be impacted the most with up to 50 inspections each. Okay, so now we know kind of where it's happening and what it's going to look like. So what kind of revenue are we looking at? So this is estimating up to be about $240,000 in additional revenue. And so we know where it's located, we know kind of what the revenue is going to look like. Now we can look at allocating staff, and we can look at how is the best way to manage our resources. Now this is just one data set. This is looking at plan review over a period of time. If you layer this with a bunch of other data sets, maybe out of business, other types of data sets for businesses, you can paint an even clearer picture, a better picture, and that can help with staffing resources. That can help with where you're going to have your districts, are you going to redistrict, all kinds of things that you can do within your department, looking out 6 months, 18 months, a year, whatever it may be. So it really helps to project workload and allocate those resources. All right, so all in all, it helps make informed, efficient, and effective decision-making, highlighting areas for growth or development, looking at the identifications of regions that may need investment, allocating monetary and staff resources equitably and equitably, ensuring equitable and adequate service, and all of this maintaining our high standards of public health and safety. All right, so that's that first project. So moving into the second one, the epidemiological team. Now, most health agencies for environmental agencies to have an EPI team or have an epidemiological response. But what we did in Sacramento County is we looked at wanting to make this a very specific and very coordinated group of individuals that are highly trained and had a lot of experience within for epidemiological response. So the role of an EPI team is to respond and investigate foodborne and waterborne illness outbreaks within the county. They work alongside Sacramento County Public Health Communicable Disease Department, and they're a specialized team and dedicated with expertise in epidemiology and public health. They have a whole bunch of objectives. First is that they're looking at the objective for prevention through education, regulation, inspection services, detection, quickly identify and track outbreaks, respond quickly, have a coordinated response plan to control and mitigate, to collaborate with interagency communication and cooperation. And then, of course, training and education, that's always ongoing, to maintain best practices and to have prevention training for outbreaks. So, the key achievements of this EPI team that has started in Sacramento County is they've developed and implemented a field investigation procedures manual. So I brought a copy of the manual, and this is a manual that they put together. It's accredited by Public Health, and it's a procedural manual on what to do in an EPI investigation. And this standardizes the team, and it standardizes between not only the environmental health, but also with public health. So Public Health had a hand in this, and it goes through the processes, procedures. It lists out phone numbers, contact information. It has checklists. That has everything you need for an epidemiological response. So they created this. The second is they built a very strong relationship with public health and other agencies, in addition to facility owners and operators, because that's very important in an epidemiological event, that there's a lot of cooperation, trust, and sharing of information. And this has resulted in the successful identification of the outbreak during some critical foodborne and waterborne illness outbreaks that have occurred in the county. We have had an outbreak for E. coli, for foodborne, and then waterborne Legionnaires. And the team assembled quickly, worked with public health, and mitigated the event very, very quickly. So how does that tie to GIS? So GIS has, utilizing surveillance, as I talked before, it paints that better picture. So now you can identify hotspots, track outbreaks, and really see what's going on during an epidemiological incident. By using multiple data and overlapping data, it really gets to understand what that health risk analysis is. Identifying high-risk areas, and then also using population data for the different communities and health outcomes. Emergency response, coordination of response efforts, distributing staff so that there's enough people to handle the incident. And then, of course, what really can help out with GIS in a lot of these applications is simulating outbreaks and response scenarios, so there's that ongoing training effort. I'm doing really well on time, huh?
Good.
All right. The third project is collaboration, education, and GIS at work. And this is really looking at sidewalk mending. And sidewalk mending in a lot of areas, Sacramento's no different, we have a lot of issues with sidewalk mending. And so the need was to formulate a team that would work very closely together, along with code enforcement and police departments or law enforcement departments. And that was mentioned yesterday and how important that is for that collaboration. And we found that that's the only way that we can respond in any meaningful way, is to have code enforcement and law enforcement along with us on these operations. So we work alongside them and created these teams. These are pictures of actual teams of the different city departments along with our EMD staff. And so we create these teams in order to respond quickly when there are complaints. So our overall health goal is to improve, is to protect public health and provide outreach and education. And that sometimes can be challenging. So we've got a couple of education measures that we've put together to provide this information for unpermitted vendors or UPV vendors when we come across them. So this is a picture of a postcard that is created, and this is the actual postcard right here. And by design, it's made small, and it's made small so it's easy to transport. And the idea is that this goes to everybody we can give it to. So police departments, law enforcement departments, code enforcement departments, any departments really, all of our staff that can carry it around, and they can give it quickly to the individuals when unpermitted vending is when they come across it. So it has QR codes on it, it has information, it's meant to be colorful, it's meant to be small size, portable, so that we can get this information out and a lot of people can distribute it. Second is this storyboard. And this is a storyboard that we put together to highlight food safety and the need to ensure that you are purchasing food from a permitted vending location. The target audience for this storyboard is more for those who are purchasing food and not so much for the vendors. And it's a reminder that there is inherent risks when purchasing food from unpermitted vending locations. So this is put in, we have it in English and Spanish, same with the postcard in both languages, and it has that reminder that it's better to purchase from a permitted location. Look for the placards, look for the stickers. Those are the vendors you want to purchase from. We've been using GIS to track UPVs or unpermitted vending locations throughout the county. So this is all we're taking all this information of these known locations as they come through from complaints, and we're layering them on GIS maps, and so we can see a lot of different information, again, painting that picture, telling that story of where these vending locations are occurring and what that means for our response. So we're utilizing a web service that's made specially for us through our IT department, and it comes with 3 layers: county-based map layer, and I'll go through each one of the layers, an environmental justice layer, and a board of supervisor boundary layer. And we use this tool to improve our response, to map our known locations, or map the known locations, and assist with staffing and resource needs so that we can respond efficiently and effectively. So this map shows our vending location. This is an up-to-date map. It shows all the known unpermitted vending locations within the county. So it gives a really great visual indicator of where it's occurring in the county. Everything is geocoded, longitude, latitude, address, and each of the pinpoints include what type of UPV it is, unpermitted vendor it is, what they're selling, the specific address of where they're at, and then it's layered on this map that has a lot of demographic statistics associated with it. What's the population, what's the census tract, what's the housing, all that information is there so that we can pull that out to see what the community needs are and where the vending is taking place. The next layer of the map is the environmental justice layer. There are 4 identified environmental justice areas in Sacramento County, and so by layering these unpermitted vending locations with those environmental justice areas, we can see where the communities are in need. If they're occurring in environmental justice areas, if they're outside the environmental justice areas, and how that will change our response and how we want to educate and promote more information to those vendors. And then the third is the board of supervisors boundary layer. And sometimes I think this layer is just for me, so I know where it is because I get calls and emails almost daily on vending locations. So this helps me to understand and also paints the picture again of where these are occurring and what supervisors are being impacted the most, and kind of helping us to plan for constituents and others calling into those board members, and so that I can adequately respond to them in terms of how we're handling the situation and knowing where it is in their jurisdiction that they're having the most trouble. Some quick pictures of violations that we're coming across from unpermitted vendor. We see by this, we have a downtown area where Golden One Center is, and we have an event center, and this is a very common area for unpermitted vending, especially hot dog carts. And so this is occurring, usually every Friday, Saturday night. And so we have a lot of operations in the downtown area, educating hot dog carts or educating the vendors, moving them along, and having them not obstruct people as they're moving around the event center. The top picture is hot dogs that have mold on them. So these were getting prepped to be cooked and sold. So those are the violations we're coming across. No hand washing, no refrigeration, and then holding things at temperatures that are just too low. So these are things that we would condemn, and we would ask them to voluntarily discard. Our enforcement is 3-pronged. We do work a lot with code enforcement and law enforcement, so all 3 are together. And so this is where our staff were alongside as they're educating, we're either writing a notice of violation, that they're alongside code enforcement and law enforcement as well. So in summary, our response structure is probably similar to most of yours out there. We respond to all complaints. We're complaint-based. We provide educational materials in multiple languages. We issue a notice of violation after the second incident. Voluntary condemnation and destruction of all unimproved food. Unpermitted vendors instructed to pack up and vacate. Fortunately, a lot of times they come back a few hours later. And then providing education material mailed out to addresses within 200 square feet. Downtown centers doesn't work as well, but in more residential, we'll send the storyboard. So because of the GIS applications, we're able to know, we can put the address, what the residences are in a particular circle, and then we'll mail out a lot of educational materials. So we're trying to educate both those who buy and those who sell. And that's it. Thank you very much.
All right. Can you guess what my topic is about today? Everybody's favorite. How many of you are dealing with street vending issues as we speak? I think everybody's hand should be going up right now. Yeah, so I want to share our program here in San Bernardino County. It's been an ongoing process since probably 2019, since the first bill came out. So the image that you see right here is actually one of our locations, I think in Muscoy. Does this look like a familiar scene that your staff are encountering? Yeah. So I'm going to go through this. Bear with me because I think I'm not tech savvy. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about our program. So obviously you all know as REHS or environmental health agencies, we are required by law to regulate food facilities, including non-permitted food facilities, including street vending or sidewalk vending. So our county deals with the same issues as you guys, but we're a little bit different as far as geography. We are 20,000 square miles, so very large, all the way to the Arizona border. We border a couple of our neighboring counties here, so we share some street vendors. We kind of knock them back and forth across the border. But it's very difficult to keep track because they are in pockets of our county where they're very rural or very remote, but they're still, causing issues. They're, causing traffic issues, loud noise issues, trash issues, I mean, you name it. And I've attended a couple of community meetings where businesses, brick and mortar businesses, have closed down and complained because they are setting up right outside their doors, stealing their customers, and they have limited regulations, right? So I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are dealing with the same thing. So I want to talk about what our county has done. So we've got a lot of pressure from not only food facilities, from our board of supervisors, our CIO, city officials, asking environmental health, what are you doing about it? This is food. You need to be doing something about it. So we try to stay in our lane and do something about it. So at heart, environmental specialists are educators first, right? So we started with the education program. So I'm going to pass all this. You guys know about the bills. So if you don't know, SB 946 started in 2019. That is what legalized sidewalk vending. This is what kind of became a pain in our necks in the beginning, and then moved on to SB 972, which changed the California Health and Safety Code, allowing, compact mobile food facilities and regulations, among other things that also are a pain in the neck. But we have an obligation, right? As health officers, we are supposed to be protecting the public health. And our job is to make sure those that are serving food are keeping it safe. But how do we do that when we have an ordinance that says they can go out about doing things? And there's a lot of misconception about these laws. A lot of the vendors, have you seen the YouTube videos with a couple of advocates saying, SB 946, SB 946, thinking that they can just go out and do whatever they want. They can go out and push their taco carts, their hot dog carts, and it's legalized, not realizing or understanding that these bills still require, if you are selling food, you are required to have a health permit. So there's a lot of misunderstanding. So a big piece of our program in the very, very beginning stages back in, I want to say 2021, 2022, we were very, very heavy on education. And so this video that you see right here was actually a recent workshop we did in the city of Muscoy. The gentleman in the background is actually our board of supervisors for our District 5. So one of the things I learned throughout this process is that in order to make momentum, you have to gain support of your politicians, of your board of supervisors, of your CAO. So I was so happy he showed up because he was saying how important it is. And so if you see him, he's talking to a room full of street vendors, sidewalk vendors, in support for EHS, in support for getting a permit. And so I have to say that did not come easy, because in the beginning they're like, EHS, get out there, and we've had staff followed by advocates, we have staff yelled at by advocates, threatened by advocates, so it was not an easy process. But how do you convince people to change their mind about our program? Is data. You have to prove to them that this is an important program. So I'm going to go through our program just a little bit. So in the beginning, we did a lot of outreach. We sent staff out with code enforcement, very similar to Sacramento County, providing education, how to become permitted, why is it important? And then it progressed into workshops, which you see here. But how do we show that we made a difference? How do we show how many people we're impacting? Well, we partnered with our county code enforcement program and developed a tracking tool. For those of you that attended last year, you saw our tracking tool for our Pull A program. This is very similar. So I'm going to peruse through this. Can you see that screen here? Let's see if it's going to start typing my name like a little ghost. There it goes. So this is our tracking tool. I'm not typing, it's going to do it by itself. But this is where our staff, code enforcement officers can go out to these street vendor sweeps and type in this information, and it's collecting information based on what they see in the field, right? So if they're seeing a vendor that's selling tacos, whatnot, what agency are you with? What are you seeing out there? And mind you, this tool was created in collaboration with code enforcement, so we were able to track what code enforcement needs and what EHS needs. So we collected all this data. My team put this together, I didn't do all this. So what type of food do they have? You know, if they have, if it's prepared or prepackaged, whatnot. So it goes through the gamut of things. So I'm gonna let it run its course. They're able to actually pin a dot of where they found that when they went out in the sweep. And this is all on your phone. And we're using ArcGIS, the Survey 123 app. So this is, anybody can use it, anybody can adapt it. It's a pretty cool tool, same thing we use for a Pull A program. So once you do that, I'm gonna kind of go through the next thing, is that since it's on your phone, you can also use it to take pictures, right? You take pictures, so one of the things is that some people can claim like, hey, they took my whole set, they even took my beverages and whatnot. Well, we can take pictures of what we actually take in. And at the end of it, the inspector would type a report to document what was embargoed at the time. In addition to that, so let me go back. So this is the records that we tracked. It's all documented in this one spot. And then we're able to put it into what we call a dashboard. So this one, this is what really, really helped us, I think, get buy-in from our politicians, is we're showing them, hey, this is the impact we have. You can't really see it here, and I can probably display it for you better afterwards if you'd like. But this is a live dashboard, so as soon as someone enters something in here, it'll put a pin there, and oh gosh, I wish it was bigger. But it highlights how many places we've seen, how much education we've done, what type of food we've taken. And with that information, you can extrapolate what are the risks. How many times did I not see hand washing? How many times did I see things that are not refrigerated? How many times did I see mold on hot dogs, right? You can extrapolate that information and say, this is why cow code is here. This is why we need to protect the public. So my hope, and this is my personal hope, is that this information can help guide legislation, help us do our job, help us provide protection to the public.
1 minute.
Oh my goodness, Tim, give me a couple seconds. I'm in my moment. So last but not least, so in addition to that, we partnered with a lot of cities. So we gave presentations to all 24 cities, or invited all 24 cities in our county to partner with us. To have the ability, we have limited capacity, as you all do, staff shortage. So how can we pull our staff out from the dangers of the field and still support? So we created this virtual option. So we invited all 24 cities to this presentation, giving them the option to sign up with us virtually. So their code enforcement officers can use this virtual tool, ping one of our staff saying, hey, I'm out in the field, can I embargo this food? Our staff looks at it, says yes, click, then the city can take care of the food with our authority to throw it away. So with that, I'm gonna go on to the last bit. He's coming for me. In conclusion, our street vending program it's not the best in the world, it has work to do, but I think it's on its way. We provided 38 food street vending consultations, so on top of our workshops, we invite staff, vendors to come to our location to sit down with us and go through how to become permitted. We've had, okay, 10, geez. We engaged with over 600 people, so ask Mr. Christian questions or myself if you have questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Lee. Heather Bonomo actually had to leave the conference early today. So on behalf of her and San Diego County, I am honored to present for consideration our implementation of droplet digital polymerase chain reaction, also known as ddPCR for beach water quality monitoring. Before I get started though, I have to give a shout out to Lars, right? A huge thank you. Lars's contributions and leadership as chief of the Beach and Bay program when ddPCR was first being evaluated was a huge undertaking. And I hope you don't mind if there are any hard math or science questions that get tossed to me, I'm gonna toss them over to you. Okay, so our Beach and Bay water quality monitoring program is quite busy. We are implementing Assembly Bill 411, which requires weekly sampling from April 1st through October 31st at identified beaches visited by more than 50,000 people annually and adjacent to storm drains that flow in the summer. But since San Diego is often blessed by great weather, our beaches are visited year-round, which means we really need to continue to sample year-round as well, which we do for 70 miles of shoreline at 45 beaches and an additional 54 other sites through our partnering agencies. And since 2021, we've also been conducting daily sampling at our South County beaches as directed by our Board of Supervisors, and I'll discuss a little bit more in detail why that is. So here are the AB 411 state health standards for ocean waters. And the fecal indicator bacteria are used to assess the potential presence of fecal material and pathogens in the water. The method used, right, is culture method. And the key takeaway from this slide is that sample trays need to incubate for at least 18 to 28 hours. This means the entire process at minimum from sampling all the way until sending a report can take anywhere from 24 to 30 hours. Now, an important part of the San Diego story, though, is what's happening in the beaches located in the south part of San Diego County. In the southern beaches, there is 12 miles of shoreline that is heavily impacted from contaminated water that originates in Mexico, especially when we have strong southern swells or trans-boundary flows that are moving that water up. We have the TJ River slow here, and then IV, you'll see Imperial Beach. Above it is Silver Strand, and then Coronado is above that. So additionally, we have failing infrastructure, and it's led to billions of gallons of raw sewage free-flowing into the ocean since about 2020, 2021. And this has led to a local health emergency. And finally, we're getting some federal assistance or money, right, which has brought some good news. The International Treatment Plant, or ITP, which has a max treatment of 25 million of gallons per day, has been actively making repairs. And as of August, last month, it's been repaired to its original design. So that doesn't mean it's been upgraded or updated, just back to its original design. Additionally, Pump Station 1A and 1B down in Mexico were just fixed early September, and they also brought back online PVC lab, which resulted this past Sunday, the entire Imperial Beach shoreline had sample results that were below threshold, reopening the shoreline for the first time since last December 2023. But I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself, and let's go back to 2017. This is what we were seeing. During this time, our South County communities shared concerns that the culture-based tests was not always picking up what surfers or swimmers were experiencing in the water. And due to that 24+ hour delay for bacteria growth due to culture, we were missing an opportunity to notify the public to avoid poor water quality. So San Diego Environmental Health looked into using a laboratory analysis that was faster than 24 hours. So here's a brief look at the historical timeline. In 2012, we actually started our journey with an evaluation analyzing quantitative PCR or qPCR. It carried into 2013 when a small-scale study was conducted, but results were inconclusive, and it was determined that qPCR was just not adequate for San Diego. In 2014, Senate Bill 1395 outlined a process by which local health officers could apply for approvals to use rapid testing methods, and they also provided much-needed funds. So from 2015 to 2017, CDPH approved funding to study ddPCR, and a working group was implemented. From 2017 to 2020, San Diego County conducted a comparative study between ddPCR and NR Alert in partnership with CDPH, US EPA, UCSD, and the Southern California Coastal Water Research Project, or SWRF. And in 2021, the study was published in the Journal of Microbial Methods, and we also received EPA approval and the initial state approval for using both culture and ddPCR testing methods. And in 2022, we received final approvals, and San Diego became the first county approved to use ddPCR, launching use on May 5th, 2022. The process for validation took over 3,000 samples that were collected over a year to capture both dry and wet weather events. They were taken at 51 sample locations, and scientists far smarter than I am concluded that the side-by-side comparison of ddPCR for Enterococcus to NR Alert had an index of agreement of 0.72 or an R-squared of 0.87, which statistically showed substantial agreement. And then a threshold specific to San Diego County was confirmed for 1413 copies for 100 milliliters of Enterococcus. And this is the ddPCR method. Very simply, the main takeaway from ddPCR, at least for us, is the method takes 8 to 10 hours, sometimes as little as 6 hours. And this means we're making decisions about samples we collect on the same day. The faster turnaround time for water quality results reduces the duration that beach water advisories, warnings, enclosures, reduces the duration that those beach water advisory warnings and closures are taking place, and it minimizes the economic impact on local businesses and tourism. When we were using the culture method, we were often sending out staff to collect another sample before the prior day's sample had even come in. Furthermore, by alerting the public more quickly, we are hoping to prevent potential outbreaks of waterborne diseases, as swimmers would be knowledgeable about sample results before entering the ocean waters. ddPCR's precision also reduces the frequency of false positives, ensuring that resources are collected or allocated efficiently, and only necessary actions are being taken.
1 minute.
Over time, we believe these efficiencies will translate into significant cost savings for the county. And this table shows 3 different locations where we can see that ddPCR is doing a better job of showing what's in the water than what culture was. It's just more sensitive. Culture was capturing only viable cultural bacteria, whereas ddPCR is capturing viable culturable, viable non-culturable, and also non-viable. Quickly, we also designed a warning tier, and this was to help our community stay informed. In California, there are typically 2 types of postings at beaches. You have advisories when state health standards are not met, and then you have closures if you have a sewage spill or a chemical spill. For San Diego County, because of the Tijuana River overflow, we created a warning tier that would help beachgoers know when there are currents pushing potential bacteria north. And so our conclusions. The process for ddPCR approval was time-consuming and a bit challenging, but the end is we get same-day results. We're opening in the beaches sooner, we're changing the public narrative on the failing infrastructure, and even though the efforts are not over yet, we believe we're providing the public a much better tool so that they are informed before they go into the beach water.
Wait till you speak.
All right. So first, I think there's a slight typo on your sheets there with the title of the presentation. But we'll be presenting the Article 38 program, which is enhanced ventilation within the air pollutant exposure zone. So thank you for the opportunity. Very excited to present this amazing, really creative program that we have developed over the last 10, 15 years. This program is actually so creative that when we had to come up with a short title for it, we simply ran out of creativity. There was none left. So we just called it the Article 38 program. As you can guess, it was the 38th article in our health code. So make no mistake about it though, despite the lackluster title, program is very unique, very innovative. You can see here the kind of structure of the environmental health branch. You can see the little sliver of the Article 38 program, limited size, very big impact. So I'm going to skip this overview of the presentation because I'm now terrified of getting the hook over here. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So what is Article 38 and what does it require? So first off, this law represents a compromise with the city and the development community. It is recommended that housing not be placed too closely with high trafficked roadways or freeways. Very simple in theory, in practice, not always possible, especially when considering highly densely populated areas such as San Francisco, also New York, and a number of other places. So what is the compromise? Developers can build housing and build buildings closer to highly trafficked roadways if and only if occupants are adequately protected. In a nutshell, Article 38 requires that certain developments include what we call enhanced ventilation. That is, ventilation systems that are capable of achieving a reduction of fine particulate matter equivalent to that of a highly efficient filter known as MERV 13 filter. Essentially, only air of greatly improved air quality would reach the interior spaces of buildings through the use of air filtration and very precise building pressurization. The air pollutant exposure zone, or the APEZ as we call it, yes, we're science nerds. We absolutely love acronyms. I apologize in advance, but I think I'm in good company, so that's fine. It was developed through this Article 38 law, and it's now used for not only enforcement of the Article 38 program, but enforcement of other regulatory programs and for some environmental review under CCDEH. Let's back up. This law looked very, very different when it was initially introduced in 2008. At that time, the screening map that you see before you was used, and it was based only on roadway vehicle counts. If identified in the map, developers would have to do very time-consuming and very expensive site-specific modeling to determine if the requirements for enhanced ventilation were going to be implemented for their program. Also at this time, the law only included residential developments with 10 or more units. By 2014, we learned a lot. Brought all the stakeholders back to the table, very intensive 6 to 9 month outreach process that was very, very great in the long run, but a little painful at times, to be quite honest. It included everyone, regulators, residents, developers, engineers, architects. But what we came out with was the old classic win-win-win scenario. So we removed the residential unit threshold because, quite frankly, it didn't make sense. We added new sensitive use developments to these requirements for enhanced ventilation, including daycares, schools, and all types of healthcare facilities. We removed the need for that time-consuming, expensive, site-specific modeling. We took it upon ourselves. We modeled the entire city for particulate matter and cancer risk on a parcel level. So developers knew exactly what would be required for development on their parcel. We also included major renovations, in addition to change of use projects, added that to the new construction and new buildings. We also were able to include our health equity component in 2014. We added health vulnerable locations that included a reduced threshold for inclusion in the air pollutant exposure zone, and likewise the requirements for enhanced ventilation. We combed through an absolute boatload of hospitalization data related to air quality illness and deaths by zip code and performed complex calculations. I would actually like to walk you through all of those calculations now, but 9 minutes? No, okay. Yeah, we're gonna skip that, so you'll just have to take our word for it. Those are the health vulnerable locations that we came up with, and as you can see, historically underserved populations in San Francisco. And I'm gonna turn it over to Jen to go over the results.
Thank you. So this was the 2014 APES modeling that was revised from the last map you saw. And then it had, the most significant thing was just including all of the new sensitive uses and buildings. So I think that it was a very big success for all stakeholders, as Jonathan mentioned. We have to do an update every 5 years in the ordinance. So we have to do this all over every time, every 5 years, and it's intentional. And it means something because it has to do with looking at hospitalization data. It has to look at things like with working with community again. How are things going? So in 2020, we were able to modify, we had a new state level threshold for PM 2.5. So as you can see, going back to here, our what was included, the parcels that are included that require the law are now much larger. And we include maritime sources, which you can see all the ferries we have around San Francisco, and point sources. So between that combination, we were able to produce a new model with our consultant, and now more of the city is protected, especially those sensitive and vulnerable populations. So this is a good partnership that we had. So this is the innovative part of the program as well, is everything is online. We have worked with the planning department. You can type in the address and it'll pull up the map. You can see if you're in or out. I don't have time to click on it. It literally is a hyperlink right now, but I can't do that. And it'll show that if I clicked on the 2020, it would show that it's actually in the zone. So as people weren't protected before, they're protected now. And then I'm giving you a sneak peek. This is hot off the press. Actually, it's not even off any press. You're the first person to see it, people to see it. This is our draft 2025 APES map, where we are going with the new EPA standard. And I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity. 1 minute, oh, I get 1 minute, okay, great. You can see that it's not adding too much more. The green layer is from the 5 years prior, the 2020, but you do see that it adds new traffic layers. And I think with this program, working with all the partners in advance, up front, including all their feedback and getting the buy-in, we've actually had 0 enforcement cases for this law. We have complete compliance and respect for it. We have a lot of cost savings because of how mutualistic all of this is. We only need a 0.5 FTE. So think about just the amount that we're doing with just half of FTE and a 0.1 manager. And we're going to be looking at the health impacts in 2030 to compare the zip codes and how our actual hospitalization data has changed to see if we've actually made some improvements in these vulnerable populations. Thanks for your time.